We are on the record for hearings in the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for July 25th. I am David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9:02 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 31049 continued. Case number 30854 continued. Case number 30914 dismissed. Case number 31053 continued. Case number 31054 dismissed. Case number 31071 continued. The administrative docket starts on page 4 with case number 31054 and goes through case number 31073 and includes the case on the supplement. These cases will be heard in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the case on the administrative docket will be placed on the oil and gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear in one of the matters on the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back in this hearing and be heard, and your statements and evidence will be taken. We will begin with moving to case number 31046, which is an application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the Beaver Lodge Bach and Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 25, 26, 35, and 36, Township 156 North, Range 95 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between the existing spacing units of said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, and such further relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, and I'm appearing in this matter, case 31046, on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. We intend to call 3 witnesses. Mr. Austin Williams will be offering some land testimony. Mr. David Nance will be offering some geologic testimony, and Mr. Mike Blake will be offering some engineering testimony. All 3 witnesses will be appearing by telephone, and they are on the phone right now.
Mr. Williams.
Austin, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Mr. Williams, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Austin, state your full name for the record, please.
Robert Austin Williams,
And Austin, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources in Oklahoma City,
In what capacity?
senior landman.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
No, sir.
You have not testified before the commission previously?
No, sir.
Okay. What I'd like you to do, Austin, is briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
Okay. I've got a Bachelor in Business Administration with a focus in energy management from the University of Oklahoma. I've got a Juris Doctor and a Master's of Business Administration from Oklahoma City University. I've licensed to practice law in the state of Oklahoma and in the state of Texas. And I've got about 8 years of in-house landman experience.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning Continental's request?
Yes.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes.
You'd offer the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Austin, let's turn to the packet of exhibits for 31046. Let's skip the cover page and go right to what's been marked as Exhibit L1. Please identify Exhibit L1 and briefly discuss what's contained upon the exhibit.
Sure. So Exhibit 01 is a general locator map. In yellow, you can see the pertinent sections that we're discussing today. That's section 25, 26, 35, and 36 of 156 North, 95 West. And that's showing a 2560-acre spacing unit.
And it appears that that's in what's been designated by the commission as the Beaver Lodge field. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And there are some other fields that are depicted on this in and around or I shouldn't say in, but around Beaver Lodge, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, let's go to the next exhibit then, Austin, L2. As you did with the previous exhibit, first identify it and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Okay. Exhibit L2 is a land plat depicting sections 25 and 36 of 156 North, 95 West. That is a 1,280 acre spacing unit. And then if you look at towards the top right, you'll see the calculated working interest that we have pulled for that spacing unit. This would be on the east half of the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit.
And L3, can you identify and discuss what's on that exhibit?
Exhibit L3 is a land plat depicting sections 26 and 35 of 156 North, range 95 West. This would be on the west side of the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. And in the top right, you can see the calculated working interest for that 1280.
And then Exhibit L4.
So putting those previous exhibits together, this is the 2560 acre spacing unit depicting sections 25, 26, 35, and 36 of 156 North, 95 West. Just combining the two exhibits, these are the calculated working interests for the 2560.
And because Continental Resources owns less than a majority interest, will Continental have discussions with the other working interest owners to determine who should operate the section line well if the application in this matter is granted?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. No further questions of this witness.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Nance,
Good morning.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
David, state your full name for the record, please.
David Lewis Nance,
And David, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
Senior Operations Geologist.
And have you testified before the commission previously?
No, I have not.
As Austin did, what I'd like you to do is briefly highlight for the examiner and the commission staff your educational background and work experience.
Sure. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Geology from the University of Arkansas, and I have a Master's of Science in Geology from the University of Arkansas. I started in the industry in 2014 as a geotech and worked for 4 years with that, and then another 4 years after that as a geosteerer. And I have been with Continental now for a little over 2 years as an operations geologist.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant geologic matters concerning Continental's requests?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes, I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
David, let's turn to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been previously marked as G1. Can you tell me what G1 is?
G1 is a general locator map showing our requested spacing unit, and highlighted in yellow, that's our 2560 spacing unit. The contours on there are 50-foot contours of the upper Bakken. The type log in the area is indicated by a red star. We do not see any unusual structures in there. So
Okay, let's go on to G2. Can you tell us what G2 is?
G2 is the type log for the area. It displays the log unit from 50 foot above the Bakken pool through the Bakken and Three Forks Formation and into the Bird Bear Formation. We expect uniform thickness, density, and porosity in our spacing unit.
Okay. And the target zone for the section line well is the Middle Bakken, is that correct?
Correct.
But you do have some Three Forks wells, or you're proposing some Three Forks wells on 1,280 acre spacing in the offsetting spacing unit, is that correct?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay, that's fine. The engineering witness can cover it. I don't have any further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Blake,
Morning.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Mike, please state your full name for the record.
Michael William Blake,
And Mike, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
Resource Development Engineer.
And in that capacity, have you had an opportunity to testify before the Industrial Commission?
I have not.
What I'd like you to do is, as the other two witnesses have done, is briefly highlight for the examiner and the commission staff your educational background and work experience.
Okay. Received a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering from Texas Tech University in 2012. Also got my MBA from the University of Oklahoma in 2021 after being in the industry for a few years. Total industry experience has been 12 years. Started off in 2012 working for a field service company, Schlumberger, for a couple years before moving to Oklahoma and working for Sandridge Energy based out of Oklahoma from 2014 to 2018. Then I ended up moving over to Continental Resources in 2018, where I'm currently employed and have been working for about 6 years in various engineering roles.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant engineering matters concerning these requests?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes.
To offer the further testimony of this witness out of an expert.
Motion granted.
Mike, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been previously marked as E1. Can you tell me what E1 is?
Yes, this is a directional well plot of proposed 2560 acre spacing unit that will allow us to drill and produce a Middle Bakken section line well that you can see there represented in a dashed green line inside that 250-foot corridor. That the section line well will allow us to maximize economic recovery of these sections and benefit all interest owners. You can also see the rest of our planned development in sections 26 and section 35, where there's an additional 6 wells planned. You can see they're outlined in dashed lines. The green ones represent Middle Bakken wells, and the pink ones represent Three Fork 1 wells.
Okay, and then E2.
Yeah, so this is our well construction diagram for a typical 2-mile Middle Bakken well for this area. It'll include a 9 5/8 surface casing and then a 7-inch intermediate casing set at about 11,000 feet, and then a 4.5-inch cemented liner completed with plus or minus 45 plug and perf stages, estimated total measured depth of 21,000 feet.
Okay, and then let's go to exhibit E3. Can you tell me what E3 is?
Yes, this exhibit outlines our reserve and economic estimates for a Middle Bakken well in this area. Can start at the reserve basis section there. You can see we are expecting an oil IP of 1,900 barrels of oil per day with an EUR of 455 MBO. Gas EUR is expected to be about 2.324 billion cubic feet, which brings our total EUR to 842 MBOE. Moving to the economic section, you can see our gross drilling costs drilling completions cost is coming in at $7.7 million, and using a flat price deck of 60 and 3 for oil and gas and a $10,000 a month operating cost, we were expecting a PV10 of $5 million for this section line well. These numbers are all gross with a working interest at 100% and an NRI of 80%, and this all leads to a 100% rate of return and a payout of 1.8 years.
Okay, and then just briefly, the reservoir parameters, that's information that was provided to you by the geologic witness, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, the type well that David previously pointed out, the Olson 1326, that was showed on that previous geology exhibit, kind of goes through the zone. This is the Middle Bakken section line well, the top base, the thickness of 117 feet, porosity, water saturation, and permeability.
Okay, and Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of hearings?
Yes.
And in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect correlative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Mr. Examiner, I have no further questions. I would offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mike, on your Exhibit E1.
Yes. Flipping back to it now.
Okay. It looks like your section line well is going to be drilled to the east of the section line. How far is the offset for that planned?
5,330 feet,
What I'm
so 50 feet.
50 feet to the east of the section line?
Correct.
What interwell distance are you going for here with your development?
Did you say spacing, well to well spacing? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Roughly 660.
And what's your target spud date?
January of 25.
And then this might be a question for David, but if you can answer it, please do. Looking at your reservoir parameters, the gross thickness for the Middle Bakken's listed as 117 feet. The Middle Bakken on its own isn't that thick, so what's all being included here?
I can answer that. The thickness there is, according to our well plan, how much of our well bore will be in the from curve in the curve. That's in measured depth, so that's not TVT or true vertical thickness. That would be measured in measured depth.
So the gross thickness here is in measured depth of the wellbore trajectory?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on that, David, I guess for future exhibits and future cases, I would suggest that thickness that you're representing be a true vertical thickness through whatever your proposed formation is, as opposed to the deviated well thickness. It's a lot easier to evaluate if that's the case, so
I will make sure to do that.
thank you.
Mike, what's the order of drilling of the wells? Are you gonna do the section line first, batch drill? What does that look like?
Yeah, I would. So there's two separate pads here. I would have to double check with our drilling department if we're starting on the east pad that consists of 5 wells, including the section line well, or the west pad that's just 2 wells. But we would go in we would go in. We're doing them consecutively back to back. We'll do one pad, followed up by the next pad, and get them all mowed down.
And then you said that there'd be 2 new pads in addition, or I mean, there's already 1 pad there. We're not going to be adding on to that pad. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. And going to Exhibit E1, the solid green line is the parent well that's currently producing. That has its own pad. There will be 2 additional pads. One you can see to the east of that parent well, and one to the west to finish off the development here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31046.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner.
Case number 31047, application of Continental Resources, Inc. for an order amending the field rules for the Stockyard Creek Bakken Pool and/or Crazy Man Creek Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota, as follows. 1. Create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre space unit comprised of sections 31 and 32, Township 154 North, Range 99 West, and sections 5 and 6, Township 153 North, Range 99 West. Authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between the existing space units of said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit. And 2, create and establish an overlapping 3840-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, and 20, Township 153 North, Range 99 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between the existing spacing unit of said proposed overlapping 3840-acre spacing unit. Such further relief is appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, appearing in this matter, case 31047 on behalf of Continental Resources, Inc. We intend to call the same 3 witnesses in this case as were called in case 31046.
Okay, just a reminder, they're still in growth.
Okay, thank you. Austin, let's go to the packet of exhibits for 31047. Once again, skip cover page and go to Exhibit L1. Tell me what L1 is and what's contained upon it.
Exhibit L1 is a general locator map depicting the proposed 2560-acre spacing unit in red, which would be sections 31 and 32 of 154 North, 99 West, and then sections 5 and 6 of 153 North, 99 West. It's also depicting the proposed 3840-acre spacing unit, sections 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, and 20 of 153 North, 99 West, and that's outlined in black. You can see the different fields on there. We have the Crazy Man Creek, and then section 32 of 154 North, 99 West would be in Stockyard Creek.
All right, let's go to the next exhibit, L2.
L2 is a land plat depicting section 31 of 154 North, 99 West, and section 6 of 153 North, 99 West. This is an existing 1280 spacing unit that would be included in the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit.
And L3.
L3 is is a land plat depicting section 32 of 154 North, 99 West. This would be in the top right quadrant of the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. And then on all of these land plats, the working interest is listed there on the top right.
And L4.
L4 is a land plat depicting section 5 of 153 North, 99 West. This would be in the bottom right quadrant of the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. It also depicts the working interest in that section.
And then let's go to L5.
L5 is bringing the previous land plats all together as one, showing the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit, 31, 32 of 154 North, 99 West, and then 5 and 6 of 153 North, 99 West. That's the consolidated working interest there at the top right corner.
All right, then let's go to the other proposed overlapping spacing unit, and starting with Exhibit L6.
L6 is a land plat depicting an existing 1280 spacing unit. It's showing Section 7 and Section 18 of 153 North, 99 West, also depicting our working interest in the top right corner.
And Exhibit L7.
Exhibit L7 is a land plat showing Section 8 of 153 North, 99 West, also depicting our working interest calculations there in the top right.
And Exhibit L8.
Exhibit L8 is an existing 1280 spacing unit, Section 17 and Section 20 of 153 North, 99 West.
And L9.
L9 is a land plat depicting Section 19 of 153 North, 99 West, also showing our working interest in the top right corner.
And then finally, L10.
So L10 is consolidating all the previous land plats that we just went through. It's depicting the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit consisting of Sections 7, 8, 17, 18, 19, and 20 of 153 North, 99 West.
Okay, Austin, in the 2560, Continental Resources owns less than a majority interest in the leasehold of that proposed 2560. Will Continental Resources have discussions with the other working interest owners to determine who the operator should be?
Yes, sir. We have had discussions with some of those working interest owners already.
And does it have been determined then that Continental Resources will be the operator?
Yes, we're coordinating with the other operators, and it appears that as of now, everybody's on the same page as far as that spacing unit is concerned.
No further questions for this witness.
Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay, David, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. Just give me a second to get there. Exhibit G1, can you tell us what G1 is and then briefly describe what's contained upon it?
Yep. E1 is a general locator map showing our requested spacing unit highlighted in red. The 50-foot contours you see there are of the Upper Bakken. The type log for the area is indicated by a red star. And we see no unusual structure in the area.
Okay, let's go to G2.
G2 is the type log for the area. It displays the log unit from 50 foot above the Bakken Pool through the Bakken and Three Forks Formation and into the Bird Bear Formation. We expect uniform thickness, density, and porosity in this area.
Okay, and at the bottom of this exhibit is some information about the reservoir parameters. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, that is correct. The log itself is a TVD value. There are 50-foot increments there. It shows the subsea values as well of each top. And then the gross measured depth, porosity, water saturation, average porosity, and average porosity height.
No further questions of the geologic witness.
Any questions from the staff?
David, on your G2, the gross measured depth that you're representing for the Middle Bakken again, you're representing 87 feet, but that thickness in the Middle Bakken would actually be closer to, say, 40.
The Middle Bakken thickness is actually, yes, around 40 or 50 feet.
And the number, one more time, the number you're representing there, the 87 feet, what does that represent?
I might have misspoke earlier, but the gross measured depth would be from the type log well survey. That's how much middle Bakken contact that wellbore had with the formation.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll reiterate for future ones, for future exhibits and whatnot, it's probably easiest to evaluate if you just provide us that thickness as a true vertical depth thickness.
Absolutely, yes, will do.
Thank you.
You can proceed.
Mike, you still there?
Lawrence, we have a different engineering witness for this case. This is Berkeley Armistead, Resource Development Engineer at Continental.
Yeah, I apologize. I should have looked a little bit closer at my sheet here. So we will have a new witness here.
Okay. Ms. Armistead,
Yes,
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Berkeley, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Berkeley Reagan Armistead,
And Berkeley, by whom are you employed?
Continental Resources,
In what capacity?
Resource Development Engineer.
And you've testified before the commission previously, have you not?
Yes,
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
yes, I have.
I'll offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Berkeley, let's turn to the first engineering exhibit, the next exhibit in the packet, E1. What I'd like you to do is identify E1 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes, so Exhibit E1 is a schematic of a proposed directional well plot of a 2560 acre spacing unit consisting of sections 31 to 32 of 154 North 99 West and 5 and 6 of 153 North 99 West. Existing Middle Bakken wellbores are shown as solid green lines. Existing Three Forks wellbores are shown as pink lines, and then there is also one Three Forks 2 lateral shown as a solid blue line. What is depicted here is a proposed section line well on or near the section line in the middle of the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. This will be a Middle Bakken lateral that will allow us to efficiently drill and produce the resource in between the previously spaced 1280 spacing unit.
Okay, and Exhibit E2.
Exhibit E2 is a schematic of a directional well plot of a proposed 3840 acre spacing unit. Existing wells are shown as the solid lines. The Middle Bakken laterals are green. The Three Forks laterals are pink. And then we are planning to drill a section line well on or near the section line in the middle of the proposed 3840 acre spacing unit that's depicted as that dashed green line that will allow us to efficiently drill and produce the resource in the middle of that spacing unit.
Okay, and then let's go to E3.
Exhibit E3 is a typical Middle Bakken wellbore construction diagram for 1280 and 2560 acre spacing units. Consists of 9 to 8 surface casing set at about 2,300 feet and 8 3/4 intermediate that's set to 11,000 feet with a 7-inch casing. And then also the lateral with about a 4.5-inch liner that will cement and complete with about 45 stages of surf completion.
And E4.
Exhibit E4 is a typical Middle Bakken well construction diagram for a 3-mile lateral, so the 1920 and 3840 acre spacing unit with 9 5/8 surface casing set at 2,300 feet, and then the 7-inch intermediate casing set around 11,000 feet, and then a cemented lateral with 50 Pleasant Grove stages.
And then let's go to E5.
Yes, Exhibit E5 is our reserved basis of the 2560, the section well located in the 2560 spacing unit. It will be in the Middle Bakken well. The initial rate is estimated to be around 950 barrels of oil per day. Initial decline around 80%. The EUR estimated at 391 MBO, and also around 1,060 MBOE. And then moving to the economic section at a 60 and 3 price deck, we have our drilling costs about $8.4 million, and then with a working interest of around 34% and an NRI around 26%. Our PV10 is about $867,000 with an IRR of 27%. And then the reservoir parameters that were previously described by our geologist.
Okay, then let's go to E6.
Exhibit E6 is our reserve basis for the section line well located in the proposed 3840 spacing unit. Initial rate for this well, we're estimating around 1687 barrels of oil per day with an initial decline of 62%, an EUR of 653 MBO, and 1,062 MBOE. The economics at a 60 and 3 price deck are a $10.7 million approximate drilling cost, and then with our current working interest in NRIs and estimated NPV of about $5 million and IRR of 81%. And then reservoir parameters also as previously described by our geologist.
Okay, and Exhibit GM1, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
Berkeley, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Berkeley, what's the planned spud date for the 2560?
We plan to spud the 2560 in September.
September of this year?
Yes, September of 2024.
And for the 3840?
It will be in October of 2024.
And you'd mentioned that both of these are going to be drilled on or near the section line. Is there a current plan to drill them directly on the section line, or is there going to be some offset?
The current plan is to drill them directly on the section line.
And for your Exhibit E2, is that pad that it's going to be drilled from an existing pad in Section 6 to the north?
Yes, it is. There is an existing pad in Section 6 to the north, and I'm unsure if we will require a pad expansion, but it will be at the same surface location as existing wellbores.
And is still on Exhibit E2, is there any plan for additional infill to the well to the west in the space there?
Yes, there is.
Would
We
that-
do plan to drill additional Middle Bakken wells, 2 additional Middle Bakken wells in this section.
And would that be batch drilled with this one here?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Berkeley, looking at your exhibit E5 and E6, your EUR for oil, if you just take simple
Yes.
math, it's about 200,000 barrels per mile for on E5. And on E6, it's 653 MBO, so it seems like the factor's off a little bit. Is you expecting the 3 Mile well to perform that much better?
Yes, sir. The 2 Mile well is going to be infilling between existing well bores where we expect there to be a significant depletion effect, and so the EUR for that well is reflective of a degraded reservoir quality because it's infilling around 660 between existing well bores.
Okay, and then your economics, you call them gross economics, but these are net economics for Continental?
Yes, this is the net economics for Continental. The costs are gross, but the PV and the rate of return are net to Continental. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31047. Case number 31048. Application of Formentera Operations LLC for an order amending the field rules for the Fraser Bakken Pool, Divide County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 4, 9, and 16, Township 161 North, Range 97 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 8 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and or such further relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 31048 on behalf of Formentera Operations LLC. And we intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Ms. Rachel Brigham will be offering some land testimony. Ms. Taylor Bartholomew will be offering some geologic testimony. And Mr. Shane Farren is going to be offering some engineering testimony. And they will all be appearing by telephone, and I'm hopeful they'll call in here shortly.
Okay. Well, no, normally I would have no problem with that. My concern is because it's being contested, they might be waiting to show up later. So, I talked to Lawrence about it. Well, I guess we'll see what happens after this. Maybe we'll take a break after this, see if somebody shows up. And
I see this is my mistake again. I apologize. They're going to be calling into a number here, so.
Unknown caller.
Welcome to Frederickson and Byron Conference. One moment, please. At the tone, say your name, and then press the pound or hash key.
Hi, Rachel, are you there? Hello,
Sorry, I didn't hear you say a name.
Lawrence Bender.
Tone, say your name, and then press the pound or hash key.
Lawrence Bender.
You're the only person in this meeting. Please stay on the line.
No, that's not too effective, is it? No. Hi, Shane. Lawrence Bender here. How are you?
Rachel Brigham?
Hi, Rachel, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Taylor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Shane, I think I heard you a little bit ago.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, the delay was my fault. I apologize. I had kind of forgotten that I needed to get the call started, so we're ready to start.
Ready? Okay. Ms. Brigham,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Rachel, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, it's Rachel Brigham.
And Rachel, by whom are you employed?
I'm a landman at Formentera Operations.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
What I'd like you to do, Rachel, is briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
Absolutely. I received my degree in energy management from the University of Oklahoma in 2021 and began my career with Oventive. At Oventive, I worked as a land negotiator, both surface and subsurface, for about a year and a half, and primarily focused on the Williston Basin and the Uinta Basin. From there, I started with Formentera, where my primary focus is surface and subsurface work in the Williston Basin, and also working a lot of our non-op acreage.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning Formentera's request in case 31048?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes.
Now for the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Rachel, let's skip the cover page in the packet of exhibits that I've distributed to the commission staff, and then you've got a summary. We can skip over that. Let's go to Exhibit 1. And what I would like you to do, please, Rachel, is first identify Exhibit 1 and then briefly describe what's contained on that exhibit.
Yes. Exhibit 1 is a map showing where our proposed 1920 acre unit lies within the Fraser Township in Divide County. And within this hearing, we're applying for an order to amend the field rules to create and establish a 1920 acre unit within this township.
Okay, then let's go to Exhibit 2. A lot of information on Exhibit 2. If you could summarize that exhibit, it would be appreciated.
Yes. On Exhibit 2, this map is a bit more zoomed in. As you can see, the Formentera Operations proposed unit is outlined in dark purple there in 16197. 16197 currently is comprised of new 1280 acre units. However, we'd like to highlight some recently approved 1920 acre units in the township directly east and the township directly south. So Continental Resources case 29695, which is depicted in orange directly east of the proposed unit, shows two established stand-up 1920 acre spacing units that were approved back in 2022, while case 30665, which is depicted in blue directly south of Formentera's proposed unit, shows 12 established stand-up 1920 acre units as approved by the commission, I believe, earlier this year. So we wanted to show these to support the uniformity of our request and the location of our request compared to other 1920 acre units in the county.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 3.
Yes, moving on to Exhibit 3, we have two visuals here. The first visual shows Formentera's current PDP in the unit, which is an operated well within the 1280 called the EBREC. The EBREC was drilled about 10 years ago. It's the lone well in the unit, and Formentera's working interest within this unit is about 45%, with the other large party being Continental with a working interest of 47%. And something to note here is our two parties are bound by a joint operating agreement tied to this acreage. The second visual shows the unit that we're proposing to the commission, including the projected interest as well as the ownership of that extended section to the south, section 16. Foreman Terrace projected working interest in this 1920 acre unit will be about 37%, with Continental having 31%, and Phoenix Capital Group with 17%. And as mentioned, we are under JOA with Continental, and they were notified of this previously.
Okay, that's all the questions I have for the land witness.
Any questions from staff?
Rachel, on your Exhibit 3, it shows that there's unleased acreage. Could you kind of explain that for me?
Yeah, we, oh, sorry, I'm hearing an echo. We launched a leasing campaign in Divide County earlier this year to lease some of these extended acres. We have about a 5-mile stretch of historic 1280 PDP wells that we wanted to respace the 15K laterals. And so we went in and launched the initial leasing campaign. It's not entirely complete. We're still having leased acreage roll in, but that was just the count as of the time that I put this exhibit together.
Okay, thank you.
Rachel, does Formentera have any interest in section 21?
Yes, we do.
And what's going to happen to section 21 if this application is approved?
So we are wanting to continue to respace in uniform. So our plan in the future would be wanting to respace that 21, 28, 33 into a 1920 as well. So that would be included in the second respacing.
And when is that application going to come forth?
Right now, we're working with partners in good faith to discuss respacing, but looking to drill this unit a bit sooner, so we wanted to expedite this one over the others. But I would anticipate in the next few months we'll submit application.
So what is your interest in 21, 28, and 33?
I don't have the exact interest count right now, but I can submit it following this.
Yeah, if you would, please, with the concept that that would be a stand-up 1920 to offset this one and your approximate acreage in each section.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that submitted following this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bartholomew,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Taylor, state your full name for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Taylor Bartholomew,
And Taylor, by whom are you employed?
Foreman Care Operations.
In what capacity?
I'm a project geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, sir.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, sir.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Taylor, let's turn to the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 4. Can you tell us what Exhibit 4 is?
Sure, absolutely. Exhibit 4 is going to be a geological structure map over the top of the Upper Bakken number. There is a typo on this slide. The scale says 1 to 170,000. It's a 1 to 90,000 scaled map. Zoom in to see the unit more specifically, as well as the type log, the teal 13-2 that's located where the yellow dot is the vertical well. And I chose this well as the analog, as this well has a full suite over the entire target reservoir, along with the frosting suite. We'll see that on the next slide. The structure map is a 50-foot contour interval, and the contours are showing that we have a strike going pretty much east-west with a dip to south. We're dipping 1 degree to south, so the dip is 89 degrees to south.
Okay, then let's go to Exhibit 5.
Yes, sir.
Once again, can you identify?
Exhibit 5,
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, so Exhibit 5 is a zoom in of our target reservoir from our analog well, the Teal 13-2. What I've done is I've highlighted both of our targets as we will, some of our wells will be targeting the middle Bakken and others will be targeting the upper Three Forks. A is going to show the middle Bakken. We have a TVD thickness of about 70 feet. For the upper Three Forks, we have a TVD thickness of about 25 feet. As you can see, again, the reasoning for choosing this specific well is that we have full suite of Danway, resistivity in column 2, and we have a full suite of porosity logs in column 3, and we have our PE and DP logs in column 4.
No further questions.
Any questions from staff? Mr. Farron,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Shane, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Yes, Shane Farron,
And Shane, by whom are you employed?
Formentera Operations,
In what capacity?
as a production engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
Yes, I have.
Had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Shane, let's go with the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 6. Identify Exhibit 6 and then briefly discuss what's contained upon it.
Yes, so Exhibit 6 shows our proposed full development plan for a 1920-acre spacing unit located in Township 161 North, Range 97 West, Sections 4, 9, and 16. The proposed plan consists of alternating Middle Bakken and Three Forks horizontal wells with approximately 585 feet interwell spacing, excluding the existing horizontal. The plan would be a total of 4 Middle Bakken and three Three Forks horizontal wells. Also shown are the proposed pad locations, proposed intermediate casing points, and proposed bottom hole locations, along with proposed setbacks of 150 feet north-south and 500 feet east-west.
Okay, Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7 shows a proposed Middle Bakken wellbore diagram. The surface casing will be set at approximately 1,500 feet. The Pierre Shale top in the area is around 1,400 feet. From there, intermediate casing will be set at a minimum of 150 feet from north-south section boundaries. The production hole will be TD'd at a minimum of 150 feet from north-south section boundaries. The proposed Three Forks wellbore diagram is the same, except with a deeper TVD.
And Exhibit 8.
Exhibit 8 shows the fluid and reservoir properties, reserves, and economics for Middle Bakken well. We are expecting initial rates of 830 barrels of oil per day. The economics will run using an initial oil price of $80.49 a barrel in 2024, dropping $70.22 a barrel in 2026. Gas price was fixed at $3.25 an MCF. The drill cost is estimated at $9 million. Expected oil EUR of 563,000 barrels and gas EUR of 1,303 million cubic feet. The expected rate of return is 60% and the payout, resulting payout is 16 months.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 9.
Exhibit 9 shows the fluid and reservoir properties, reserves, and economics for a Three Forks well. From our area of review, we have not seen any differences in the production profile of the Middle Bakken and the Three Forks, and that is why the economics and reserves are identical to the Middle Bakken case.
All right, and then Exhibit 10, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes, sir.
And Shane, in your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, sir.
So all the questions I have, Mr. Examiner, offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Shane, on your Exhibit 6,
Yes, sir.
is that existing well Three Forks first bench?
Yes, sir.
Do you plan on batch drilling these, one pad and then the other, or what are your plans here?
Yes, sir. It would be to batch drill one pad and then move to the other pad and batch drill that pad.
So they would be back to back?
Yes, sir.
And what's your planned spud date?
Spud day would be sometime in March of 2025.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31048. This time we'll take, oh, I'm sorry, we have to leave the record open, I'm sorry. Lawrence, how long do you need? We have to leave the record open in this case.
Let's just say you got a calendar for what's the Friday, first Friday in August? Second? Do you think you can get that additional information by August 2nd? Shouldn't be a problem, should it, Taylor? I think it was,
Yeah, we can have it by August, the first Friday in August. Easily.
Okay, the record will remain open until August 2nd in this case. And that concludes our hearing for case number 31048. At this time, we'll take a 10-minute break. We are off the record.
Shane, you want to just stay on the phone because we're going to take 30997 next. Shane?
We are back on the record. We will resume with case number 31049. Application of Hunt Oil Company for an order amending the field rules for the partial Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish the following. 1, an overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 25 and 36, Township 155 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 2 wells on said proposed overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit. And 2, an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 25 and 36, Township 155 North, Range 90 West, and sections 30 and 31, Township 155 North, Range 89 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing space units on said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, and/or such other and further relief as appropriate. This case has been continued to the August hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31049. Case number 31050, application of Hunt Oil Company for an order amending the field rules for the Ross Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, so as to create and establish 4 overlapping 2560-acre space units comprised of sections 35 and 36, Township 157 North, Range 90 West, the west half of Section 3, Section 4, and the east half of Section 5, Township 156 North, Range 90 West, Section 36, Township 157 North, Range 90 West, Section 31, Township 157 North, Range 89 West, the west half of Section 2, Section 3, and the east half of Section 4, Township 156 North, Range 90 West, Sections 8, 9, 16, and 17, Township 156 North, Range 90 West, and Sections 9, 10, 15, and 16, Township 156 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between existing space units on each proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, and/or such other and further relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, and I'm appearing in this matter, case 31050, on behalf of Hunt Oil Company. We intend to call 3 witnesses in this matter. Mr. Matt Bodley will be offering some land testimony. Mr. Joe Bauman will be offering some geologic testimony, and Ms. Emily Worth will be offering some engineering testimony. All 3 witnesses will be appearing by telephone, and I believe they are on the phone as I speak. Matt, are you there?
Yes.
Do you have your group with you?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Mr. Bodley,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Matt, state your full name for the record, please.
Matt Bodley,
And Matt, by whom are you employed?
Hunt Oil Company,
What capacity?
land manager.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have.
And you've had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Matt, let's go to Exhibit 1. Can you tell me what Exhibit 1 is and then briefly describe what's contained upon it?
Exhibit 1 is a regional location map showing the Ross field within Montreal County.
Okay, and Exhibit 2?
Exhibit 2 shows our proposed 2560-acre spacing units in Rossville. The differentiator, it gets a little bit overlapping here, but the darker green dash lines would be one 2560, the lighter dash lines would be another 2560, so 2 to the north, 2 to the south, with Hunt's working interest in the existing units and the proposed 2560s, with the northwest 2560 at 65.5%, the northeast 2560 at 43.5%, the southwest 2560 at 38%, and the southeast 2560 at 56%.
And in those situations where you have less than a majority interest in the 2560, will Hunt have discussions with other working interest owners to determine who should be the operator of those 2560 spacing units?
Yes, and while we have it shows less than 50% of the 2560, we believe that would still be the majority in the 2560 itself.
Okay. Well, when you say majority, don't you mean the largest interest?
That's correct,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. No, that's fine. No further questions of the land witness.
Any questions from the staff? Mr. Baumann,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Joe, state your name for the record,
Joe Baumann,
and by whom are you employed?
London Oil Company,
What capacity?
geologist.
And that capacity, you've testified before the commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Joe, let's go to the next exhibit, Exhibit 3. Tell us what that is.
Exhibit 3 is a structure map on top of the Bakken Formation over Ross Field. The field boundaries are labeled and indicated in blue. The middle Bakken laterals here are indicated outlined in blue. Three Forks laterals are red. The proposed overlapping 2560 are the shaded, red shaded polygons. And the type log location is indicated by the red circle.
And Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4 is type log is indicated in the previous exhibit, and track 1 is gamma ray, track 2 are porosity logs, track 3 is resistivity. The top of the Bakken, top of the Bakken and Three Forks formations are indicated by the red line. The upper and lower Bakken shales are indicated by the gray shading, and the middle Bakken reservoir target is indicated by the yellow shading. The Ross Bakken pool is defined as 50 feet above the top of the Bakken formation, 50 feet below the top of the Three Forks formation. Those are indicated by the bold dashed black line.
No further questions.
Any questions from the staff? Ms. Worth,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Emily, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Emily Worth,
And Emily, by whom are you employed?
an oil company,
What capacity?
reservoir engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously and had your qualifications accepted as that of an expert?
I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Emily, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 5. Can you tell us what that is?
Exhibit 5 is the proposed development for the overlapping 2560 acre spacing units in Ross Field. The black outlines are showing the existing 640 acre unit. The gray outlines are the existing 1280 acre unit. The green dashed lines are showing the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. And the red highlighted wells are the proposed lease line wells within those units.
And then let's go to Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 shows a typical Bakken wellbore schematic for horizontal well. This has approximately 150-foot frac stages, and we would do about 70 total stages for a 10,000-foot well.
And Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7 shows the estimated reservoir properties, reserves, and economics for the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit, with an original oil in place of 23.4 million barrels of oil. An EUR for these 10,000-foot wells would be about 486,000 barrels. And the estimated PV10 is $5.8 million, run at a flat pricing of $70 per barrel and $2.50 MCF.
Okay, and Exhibit 8, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
The exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Emily, on your Exhibit 5,
Yes.
are these section line wells going to be drilled with any infill development here?
Not currently.
So they would just be standalone?
Two well pads. For now.
And what's the planned spud date for these?
Mid next year, I believe.
Thank you.
Emily, on Exhibit 5, if I understood you correctly, you're going to drill these 4 wells from 2 pads?
That's the goal.
And where are those pads going to be located?
The path to the 2 western wells is going to be located in Section 8, and the path for the 2 eastern wells is going to be located in Section 10.
So the pad in Section 8, is that existing pad in the northeast?
It's part. We would probably do an expansion.
And then likewise in Section 10 would be from that pad in the northwest?
No, the topography is difficult, so we're still trying to nail down the exact location.
Do you know what the offset is between the section line and the quarter lines? The section line between, for instance, between 35 and 36 and the quarter line in Section 4.
I think it's about 300 feet.
So is that something you can determine exactly?
We drilled a lease line to the west in our Palermo King unit, and we would plan on doing it in the same way as we did that.
Yeah, my question was, can you determine what the offsets are on these proposed spacing units?
Yes.
Okay, please do so, thank you.
Mark, I want to make, or Mr. DeVore, I want to make sure I understand. You're wanting to know the offset between, for example, 36 and, well,
Between the section line between 35 and 36, and then there's an offset to that quarter line in Section 4.
oh, I see what you're saying.
And likewise in 36 and 31.
I thought you were talking between the 2560s to the north and the 2560s, which didn't make any sense to me, but I follow you now.
Okay, thanks.
Lawrence, how long do you need to keep the record open?
Let's try same date, August 2nd.
August 2nd?
Yep.
Okay, the record will remain open in this case until August 2nd. That concludes our hearing for case number 31050. Case number 31051, application of Hunt Oil Company for an order amending the field rules for the Clearwater Bakken Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 11, 12, 13, and 14, Township 157 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 9 wells on said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit, or, in the alternative, 1, create and establish 2 overlapping 1280-acre spacing units comprised of sections 11 and 14 and sections 12 and 13, Township 157 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 wells on each proposed overlapping 1280-acre spacing unit, and 2, create and establish an overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 11, 12, 13, and 14, Township 157 North, Range 90 West, authorizing the drilling of a horizontal well on or near the section line between the existing spacing units of said proposed overlapping 2560-acre spacing unit. Such other relief as appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1865, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing this matter on behalf of Hunt Oil Company. We'll have the same 3 witnesses in this case as we had in the previous case.
And you can proceed.
Matt, let's go to Exhibit 1. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, sir. Exhibit 1 is a regional location map of Clearwater Field within Montreal and Burke County.
Exhibit 2?
Exhibit 2 is the proposed spacing unit covering sections 11, 12, 13, and 14 with the 1280s in red. where Hunt's working interest in the east 1280 would be 65.5%. The west 1280 would be 57.5%. And if drilled on a 2560, Hunt's working interest would be 61.5%.
And will the engineering witness describe in some detail as to why you're requesting the alternative relief, or is that something you want to do?
Yeah, I'm happy to address it now if you'd like.
Yeah, please do.
We're fine with either one that the commission thinks is the most efficient. We think that from an administrative and drilling operational perspective, the 2560 seems to make the most sense for us operationally. And one of the reasons why we wanted to give the two options is we would like to get these drilled as soon as possible, and like to get them permitted and built as soon as possible. And so we would request an order for either one just as quickly as we could get it.
Okay, no further questions.
Any questions from the staff?
Matt, peeking ahead at your development plan, how does the 2560 differ in any way from one 2560 versus two 1280s, and a lease line 2560? How does that differ in any way for Hunt?
I think it provides flexibility on the corridor, the 500-foot lease line corridor, if we needed to make an adjustment within that 2560, that would allow us to, from an administrative standpoint, instead of having one overlapping unit, you now have 3 separate units that you are tracking and paying separately and billing separately. So the differences on paper aren't that great, but administrative and operationally, we think there is some efficiencies to the 2560.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Matt, looking at, again, kind of peeking ahead and looking at the map, the sections 13 and 14 here are currently a laydown 1280, correct?
Correct.
And that well is operated by, is that all?
Yeah, Hunt has recently taken over operations of the laydown and well.
Okay, so that well, which I show is currently a Phoenix-operated well, is in the process of transferring to Hunt?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Sir.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Matt, typically when you ask for a 2560 like this, where in addition to a section line well, there's a requirement that you present some information with respect to cost savings. I know you talked about the convenience of not having two 1280s rather than having a 2560. Have you looked into the issue of what sort of cost savings there would be if you were granted the 2560 versus the 1280?
I know, Lawrence, we've done that historically in similar exercises, not for this one, but we would be happy to put something like that together if that would help.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to request the record remain open so that we can present some information with respect to cost savings and surface use and that sort of thing.
So again, till August 2nd?
Yes.
Okay, the record will remain open till August 2nd.
Yeah, Lawrence, to be clear, that the cost savings, decreased surface impact, increased reserves was intended for like stand-up 2560s, not these square ones, but you're free to submit what you want.
You can call your next witness.
Okay. We will now recall Joe Bauman. Joe, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 3. Tell us what that is.
Exhibit 3 is a structure map on top of the Bakken Formation over Clearwater, Clearwater Field. The field boundaries are labeled and indicated in blue. Middle Bakken laterals, again, are indicated by the blue lateral. Three Forks laterals are in red. The proposed 1280 DSUs are indicated by the orange outlines with the red shading, and the alternative proposed 2560 is indicated by the dotted green polygon. Type log location is indicated by the red circle.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 4.
Exhibit 4 is type log is indicated in the previous exhibit. Track 1 is the gamma ray. Track 2 are porosity logs. Track 3 is resistivity. The top of the Bakken, Three Forks, and Bird Bear formations are indicated by the red horizons. The upper and lower shales, Bakken shales, are indicated by the gray shading, and the middle Bakken reservoir is indicated by the yellow shading. The Clearwater Bakken pool is defined as 50 feet above the top of the Bakken formation to above the top of the Bird Bear formation, and those pool limits are indicated by the bold dashed black line indicated on the wall.
And Joe, in your opinion, do you have uniformity with respect to permeability, porosity, and thickness of the reservoir?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and are you aware of any structural anomalies with respect to this area?
No.
Okay, no further questions.
Any questions from staff? You can call your next witness.
Okay, Emily, Exhibit 5.
Yes, Exhibit 5 is showing the proposed development for the overlapping unit. The top map showed in green, we see the dashed green line shows the proposed 2560 spacing unit. The gray outline is the existing 1280 unit, and the black outlines are the existing 640 unit. And the green highlighted wells are the proposed wells within that 2560. The bottom map shows the 1280 split. So the red dashed outline is showing the proposed 1280 unit. The green dashed outline is the proposed 2560. The black outlines are the existing 640s, and the gray outline is the existing 1280. The red highlighted wells are the proposed wells within the 1280 unit, and the green highlighted wells is the lease line proposed for the 2560.
Okay, and Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6 shows a typical Bakken wellbore schematic for a horizontal well, about 150-foot frac stages, and for these 10,000-foot wells, we would have about 70 total stages.
Okay, and Exhibit 7.
Exhibit 7 shows the estimated reservoir properties, reserves, and economics for the proposed 2560 acre spacing unit. The original oil in place is 23.4 million barrels of oil. The EUR for a 10,000-foot well is 486,000 barrels of oil. And the PV10 would be $6.3 million at $70 flat oil and $2.50 flat gas.
And Exhibit 8, is that a gas capture affidavit that the commission typically requires in these sorts of matters?
Yes.
In your opinion, will the requested relief prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
No further questions. Offer the exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Emily, Matt had mentioned there was some urgency in getting an order for these. What's your intended spud date?
It should be early next year, I believe. February of 25. But we have to build the pad this year, preferably before the winter.
Would all of these wells be drilled from one pad?
There's 2 pads right now.
Where would they be located?
They would be located in the south part of Section 14 and the south part of Section 13.
Would you be batch drilling from these
Yeah.
2 pads?
Yes.
And for the discussion of the flexibility with the 2560 for that lease line well, or lease line well in the event of it being two 1280s. Do you plan on drilling that right down the section line, or what is the need for flexibility with that well?
We're fine either way. We still plan on drilling that down the section line.
Can I speak as the landman?
Yes?
So, depending on when the section line well is drilled within the batch drilling, if we had to sidetrack or get off deviation of one of the offsetting wells to the lease line well, it could cause a scenario where the 500-foot corridor gets tighter or less manageable. So we drill plenty of lease lines. We think we can do it. We just like the flexibility of having that option.
Thank you. And Emily, what's the plan for those existing wells that Hunt has taken over?
We plan to continue operating those. They would be shut in for the period of drilling and fracking these wells. But we plan to continue operating them as normal once all of these wells come on.
Is there any plan for offsetting stages around them, or no?
Yes.
Yes? How much of an offset would you look at?
We're evaluating that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31051. Case number 31052, application of Equus Energy Partners LLC and WGO Resources LLC for an order creating three 320-acre drilling units comprised of the east half, Section 26, the west half of Section 34, Township 140 North, Range 104 West, and the southwest quarter of Section 35, Township 140 North, Range 104 West, and northwest quarter of Section 2, Township 139 North, Range 104 West, Golden Valley County, North Dakota, authorizing the drilling a well within each drilling unit and such other and further relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in case 31052 on behalf of WGO Resources LLC. I might just note for the record, the commission should be in receipt of a letter from me, I don't know, approximately 10, 15 days ago, where we indicated that Equus Energy Partners LLC was withdrawing as an applicant. We intend to call three witnesses in this matter. Richard Moritz, M-O-R-I-T-Z, will be offering some land testimony. Emily Hartwick will be offering some geologic testimony. And Jordan, I'm going to try to pronounce the name here, Reitzma, and he'll be on the phone as well. He can help us with the pronunciation of his name, but he'll be offering some engineering testimony.
Are they on the phone?
They're on the phone now.
Mr. Moritz,
Yes, Richard's here.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Richard, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Richard Douglas Moritz.
And Richard, by whom are you employed?
Wolverine Gas and Oil Corporation.
Okay, and how is Wolverine affiliated with WGO Resources? It's my understanding that WGO is a wholly owned subsidiary, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And what What is your position with Wolverine?
Vice President of Land.
Okay? And in that capacity as VP of Land, have you testified before the commission previously?
No.
What I'd like you to do, Richard, is briefly highlight for the examiner your educational qualifications and your educational background and your qualifications, your working qualifications.
Okay. I've been at Wolverine for 40 years. I have a BA from Hope College, a JD from Thomas Cooley Law School, a member of the Michigan Bar Association, the American Bar Association, American Association of Petroleum Landmen, and the Michigan Association of Petroleum Landmen.
Okay, and in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant land matters concerning the request of WGO in this matter?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes, I have.
Have you satisfied yourself as to the accuracy of those exhibits?
Yes.
We offer the further testimony of this witness out of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Richard, I've distributed to the commission staff a packet of exhibits. I assume you have a packet in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, what I'd like you to do is turn first to what's been marked as Exhibit 1, and I'd like you to identify Exhibit 1 and then briefly highlight what's contained upon it.
Okay. Exhibit 1 shows oil and gas activity from north-south Camel Hump, and then going to the south. It will include our area of interest, which I will show you on Exhibit 2.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 2.
This is zoomed in from the previous map showing our 6 sections of our area of interest.
Okay, and approximately how many miles south of the South Camel Hump field, which you have depicted on Exhibit 1, is this area of interest that you have marked with the blue rectangle?
Approximately 6 miles.
And then let's go to the next exhibit, which has been previously marked as Exhibit 3. Can you tell us what that exhibit is?
Yes, Exhibit 3 shows our proposed spacing units within the area of interest, and the 3 spacing units proposed are in the permitting process.
Okay. And the reason for this application is that WGO wants to drill these wells on a pattern that does not match statewide well location rules. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the reason they don't meet statewide well location rules is the statewide well location rules would require wells to these depths to be drilled not less than 660 feet to a quarter line. Is that correct?
Correct.
And as you have the wells depicted on here, they don't meet that setback requirement. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you're here today requesting that 3 drilling units be established and that you be allowed and that you be allowed to drill the wells on those drilling units. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 4. Tell us, it looks like Exhibit 4 is a several-page exhibit. I won't interrupt you. If you could identify Exhibit 4 and then walk through the 3 pages that constitute Exhibit 4.
Yes. Exhibit 4 is showing there's 3 pages outlining Prospect 1, Prospect 2, and Prospect 3, and it shows the mineral ownership in the 3 prospects. All the minerals are under lease, and the leases are of record.
And in terms of why you're requesting the creation of these drilling units, the geologic witness is going to get into that in some detail. Is that correct?
That is correct.
No further questions for the land witness.
Any questions from the staff?
Richard, do I understand correctly that WGO has 100% of the leases in these proposed drilling units?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Hartwick,
Yes?
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury, testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Emily, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Yep, my name is Emily Elizabeth Hartwick.
And Emily, by whom are you employed?
I'm employed by Wolverine Gas and Oil Corporation.
In what capacity?
I'm the manager of geology.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
What I'd like you to do then is briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
Okay, I obtained my Bachelor's of Science in Geology from Central Michigan University in 2005 and my Master's of Science in Geology from Western Michigan University in 2010. I've been a geologist with Wolverine since 2005, and I've worked primarily in Rocky Mountain basins and the Michigan basin over that time.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant geologic matters concerning this request?
Yes, I have.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision some exhibits you intend to sponsor?
Yes, I have.
Offer the further testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Emily, let's go to the next exhibit in the packet. It's been marked as Exhibit 5. Can you tell us what Exhibit 5 is and then briefly discuss what is contained on that exhibit?
Yes. This map shows the general Red River Formation structure based on subsurface well control only, and shows the location of the 3 proposed units relative to the Camel Hump and South Camel Hump fields off to the north. The South Camel Hump field is the closest existing Red River D production to our proposed unit, and as Richard said earlier, that lies about 6 miles to the northwest of us there. The color shading and the contours indicate the general dip panel of the Red River Formation, with the warm colors representing higher elevations and the cool colors representing lower elevations with a contour interval of 50 feet. So you can see that we're generally on a dip panel trending down to the northeast. This map also shows the location of the Lardy 44-6 well of the South Camel Hump field with that pipe log label there, and we will discuss that on a following exhibit.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 6.
Okay. So Exhibit 6,
Nope, go ahead.
Exhibit 6 shows a more detailed structure map that helps to better define our geologic interpretation and the basis for these requested units. On this map, the proposed unit outlines are shown in red, with each bottom hole location shown by a small black circle with the annotated well name. The structural contours for the top of the Red River D zone are shown in gray lines, as well as a gray dashed line for a closed low, and then also as blue lines on a tighter contour interval spacing to show the detail within the prospect areas. So again, we can see the general trend of going down dip into the basin towards the northeast. However, with this level of detail, we can see several interpreted closures that underlie a majority of the proposed 320-acre units, and those may provide for the trapping of hydrocarbons. So that is our target. This interpretation is based on 3D seismic data that is owned by our partner, Equus, and we are targeting these conventional four-way closures that occur along these structural noses within the Red River D. So the apexes of each of these structures are interpreted to be outside of the 660-foot setback to governmental quarter-line drilling windows, which are shown in the pink boxes within the proposed unit. It's critical that we place our bottom holes on the highest point, or the apex of these structures, to ensure that we can produce all of the hydrocarbons within the structure and not leave any potential addict hydrocarbons behind. And also, since these are exploration wells, the bottom holes should be placed on the highest position possible to have the best chances of success. So, therefore, in my opinion, it's the most efficient way to drill these wells at the posted bottom hole locations, which this map shows would require these proposed 320-acre units.
Okay, let's go to Exhibit 7.
Okay, Exhibit 7 shows that type log from that Lardy 44-6 well in South Camel Hump. The Red River D zone is our intended target for these 3 exploratory wells. And this type log shows the stratigraphy from the overlying Stony Mountain down through the upper Red River. The Red River D zone itself lies in between the markers that are labeled 203, RD, RVD, and RRD base. And in this area has a gross thickness of 80 feet, which will be consistent to our area to the south. So where the Red River D is productive, it is a dolomite. And in the Lardy 44-6, there's 52 feet of net reservoir dolomite that's defined by a PE and a density porosity cutoff. And that's illustrated by the green bars in the far right track there. And then you can also see how this well was perforated within that net pay by those perforation symbols in the depth track. This well, drilled by Foundation Energy in 2017, IP'd at 225 barrels of oil a day with associated gas and water, and is still producing today. And its current oil cumulative is 112,000 barrels, or 14, rounding up to 14.
No further questions.
Any questions from staff?
Emily, I guess let me start with your Exhibit 7. The Lardy well, when that was drilled and proposed originally, that target was identified similarly on 3D seismic, correct?
That's correct.
Do you know if they identified it as a conventional structural closure, or did they identify that target using kind of seismic anomaly mapping as a porosity development within the Red River?
I believe they were using all of their tools available, and locating themselves along structural highs was also key in their play.
Okay. Your analysis identifying the pods, I'll call them, on Exhibit 6, the structural highs on Exhibit 6, was it purely just on the surface, or was it based on the porosity development?
So that is guided by the 3D seismic data that is owned by our partners, Equus. And this interpretation is coming from them. And they are looking, again, at everything they can glean from the seismic data, and staying up high on structure is a guiding principle. There is another well within the South Camel Hump field that is to the east of the Lardy. If you look at Exhibit 5, it's labeled the Rodick well. That well produced about 3,000 barrels of oil with a much higher water cut. So there is a structural component and a need to stay high within these features.
Okay. And then I think when you were discussing your Exhibit 7 on the type log, you indicated that there was 80 total did you say 80 net or gross feet of the target?
It's the gross footage is 80 feet, and the net in this particular well is about 52 feet.
Looking at your Exhibit 6 with those numbers in mind, the structural component as a structural high, there's about 8 to 10 feet of additional structure, or structural, as a structural high identified for each of these pods. And do you anticipate your oil in the very top of that structure at this point?
We do. We anticipate oil at the tippy tops of the structure, and the amount of magnitude, while it appears to be minimal with this view of the contours, we do see a very similar low amount of structural reversal at the Camel Hump field. So that is kind of consistent along this play trend with our expectations, that even though we just have a relatively small closure, we have good trapping ability within it.
Okay, so I guess in short then, the analysis appears to be very similar to what was done in Camel Hump, and you're anticipating the wells to perform similarly to those wells that were recently drilled up in Camel Hump?
That is our hope and expectation. Yep.
And at this point, you're proposing purely vertical wells, no intent to put a horizontal lateral on anything?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Emily, as a follow-up on Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 6, those footages on Exhibit 3 are the apexes where you plan to put these wells?
Yes. The footages on Exhibit 3 locations are consistent with Exhibit 6.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Itzema,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Jordan, state your full name for the record, please.
Jordan Matthew Ritzma.
Well, we were close, huh?
You were close.
Okay. And Jordan, by whom are you employed?
Wolverine Gas and Oil Corporation,
In what capacity?
production engineer.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I have not.
What I would like you to do, Jordan, is briefly highlight for the examiner and the commission staff your educational background and work experience.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Engineering from Hope College in 2011 and a Master's of Science in Petroleum Engineering from Texas Tech University in 2014. I've been working in the gas and oil industry for 10 years. I worked as a production engineer at Brightburn Energy Partners from 2014 to 2016, and then a reservoir engineer for them from 2016 to 2017. From 2017 to 2018, I worked for Core Energy, LLC, as a staff engineer. And then from 2018 to present, I've been employed by Wolverine Gas and Oil as a production engineer.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you made a thorough study and review of all the relevant engineering matters concerning this request by WGO?
Yes.
And have you prepared or had prepared under your control and supervision an exhibit you intend to sponsor?
Yes.
And offer for the testimony of this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Jordan, let's go to the final exhibit in the packet, Exhibit 8. And what I'd like you to do is identify Exhibit 8 and then just in a summary fashion, hit some of the high points of the information that's contained on that exhibit.
Sure. So this is an exhibit presenting engineering data and wellbore economics or well economics from
for each of the 3 wells that are proposed. So I'll talk through each of the sections presented here briefly. So starting with the reservoir description, it's the Red River D formation. It's a dolomite reservoir at a depth of approximately 11,850 feet TBD. I'm showing a range there. The net thickness for used in this analysis is 30 feet, and the well spacing units are 320 acres with a solution gas drive mechanism. The reservoir rock properties, based on analogs, are 9.6% average porosity. We expect a saturation of 35% and a bottom hole pressure around 5,100 psi. And then moving to the reservoir fluid properties in the upper right, the assumed GOR is 300 with a BOI of 1.2 formation volume factor. And then moving to the volumetrics below that, that calculates to a original oil in place for this section of a little over 3.8 million barrels. And when you apply the average feature area within that section, which is 70%, that calculates to 2.7 million barrels. So with a 15% recovery, the estimated ultimate recovery per well is 400,000 barrels. So that is our single well EUR. And then if you move to the lower left, which is where the per well economics are shown, again, using that 400,000 barrels, and a total investment of approximately $4.3 million. We expect a rate of return of around 75%, a payout of 1.3 years, and a return on investment of 3.8.
Jordan, in your opinion, if this application is granted and these wells are drilled, in your opinion, is that going to prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Mr. Examiner, that's all the questions I have. We'd offer each one of the exhibits, that being 1 through 8.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Mr. Jordan, have you considered directional drilling to get to your target at all?
To clarify, horizontal or directional?
Just a directional well bore.
The Mo wellbore is a slightly directional well. I believe it's approximately 250 to 300 foot kick. So the kickoff point on that well is approximately 2,000 feet, and that's just due to surface issues where the bottom hole location is. The other two are true, straight vertical wells.
Is there a reason why you have a preference for just vertical versus directional?
I would say anomaly spacing is part of the reason, and then just the recovery expectation and the cost of drilling a horizontal versus vertical. We don't see that as advantageous at this time.
Can I get a clarification on the question? Are you suggesting that we put the surface location at a legal location and then drill directionally to where we want to drill? Is that the direction you're heading with the questioning?
Yeah, just asking why there's a preference for...
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I was just asking why there's a preference for vertically right above the structure versus maybe directional drilling, that's all.
Okay. But I guess I still don't understand, what would directional drilling solve? I mean, are you suggesting if we drill the well at a legal location on the surface, then we could directionally drill to the bottom hole location without a hearing?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand the question.
Okay.
Jordan or Emily, I guess, for the purposes of the drilling units that are being requested, the pool that to be defined for those drilling units, would the entire Red River be sufficient for your purposes?
I would, yes, the blanket Red River pool would be appropriate, I think.
Okay, thank you.
And I say that based on the large 44.6 was in the Red River pool.
Yep.
Jordan, just a point of clarification on Exhibit 3, those footages that are depicted there are the bottom hole footages?
Yes, those are the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll notice, on the mowed well, there is a slight line. We aren't depicting the surface pad, but if you can see, there's a line coming off the west footage call, which is the directional path of the wellbore.
Yep, I see that, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 31052. Case number 30854, application of WPX Energy Williston LLC for an order for the Hart Butte Bakken Pool and/or Wolf Bay Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, to create and establish an overlapping 2880-acre spacing unit comprised of sections 29, 30, 31, and 32 in the west half of sections 28 and 33, Township 147 North, Range 92 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 17 wells on said proposed overlapping 2880-acre spacing unit and such further relief as appropriate. This case has been continued to our August hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 30854. Case number 30914, application of Enerplus Resources USA Corp. For an order for the Murphy Creek Bakken Pool, Dunn County, North Dakota, as follows. 1, create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 211 and 14, Township 144 North, Range 95 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 4 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit. And 2, create and establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 144 North, Range 95 West, authorizing the drilling of a total not to exceed 5 horizontal wells on said proposed overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit and such further relief as appropriate. This case has been dismissed. That concludes our hearing for case number 30914. Case number 30992, application of Zargon Oil ND Inc. for an order authorizing the conversion of the E.J. Phelan 25-6 well with location in the southeast northwest quarter of section 25, Township 163 North, Range 83 West, Bottineau County, North Dakota, Haas Madison unit for the injection of fluids into the unitized formation pursuant to NDAC Chapter 430205 and such other relief as is appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case 30992 on behalf of Zargon Oil ND Inc. We intend on calling 2 witnesses in this matter. We'll have 1 witness in the area of land, Mr. Matt Sanders, and then we'll have a second witness who's a geologist, Phil Jewett. Mr. Examiner, most of our presentation today is going to be in the area of responding to the email that the commission received. I think we can expedite the hearing process if you allow me to put both witnesses on before we take questions from anybody who might be here or the commission staff, because I'm a little concerned that if you asked the land witness a question, it might be something that the geologist will answer and vice versa. I know that's a little bit unusual, but I think it will speed up the process. So if you don't mind, that's what I would request.
Any objection from the staff? No? Okay, that's fine.
And I believe Mr. Sanders is on the phone, and I saw Phil a few moments ago.
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Yep,
Okay.
want your maps?
Mr. Sanders,
Oh, that's for them. No, they've got copies. of everything.
Mr. Sanders, do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I should hand it out because it's a little easier for the seat bigger. Okay. Okay, you've sworn the witness on the
Yes.
telephone? Okay, thank you. Matt, would you state your full name for the record, please?
Matthew David Sanders Jr.
And Matt, by whom are you employed?
I'm an independent contractor through Cat Canyon Resources
But in this
in
particular,
Sargon Oil and Gas.
yeah, but in this particular matter, you're appearing on behalf of Zargon, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what's generally, are you a landman?
Yes, sir.
And have you testified before the commission previously?
No, I have not.
What I'd like you to do, Matt, is just briefly highlight for us your educational background and work experience.
Yeah, I graduated from the University of Colorado with a business degree, and then University of Denver Daniel School of Business with a petroleum landman certification. I then entered the workforce, and I've been a landman for the last 15 years.
And in preparation for today's hearing, have you generally familiarized yourself with all the matters relative to this request by Zargon to convert a well to an injection well for the unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been involved in assembling some exhibits that are going to be presented here today, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
No, for the further testimony, this witness that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Matt, let's first turn to what's been marked as Exhibit 1. And it's my understanding that Exhibit 1, it has a cover page, by the way, Mr. Examiner, and then the next page is Exhibit 1. That's the application that Zargon filed with the commission to convert the well to the Phelan well to an injection well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after that application was filed, is it your understanding that Kevin Aho, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, submitted an email to the commission?
That's correct.
And is it your understanding that that email submitted to the commission by Mr. Aho was on behalf of his mother, Valerie Aho?
That's correct.
And is it your understanding that Valerie Aho owns property where the E.J. Phelan 25-6 well, the well that's under consideration for to be allowed as an injection well, that's on her property?
Yes.
And do you know, what's your understanding with respect to when that property was purchased? Was it purchased by Mr. Aho's mother and father back in 1984?
I believe so, based on his email.
Okay. Let's now focus a little bit on some of the concerns that are raised in that email. He sets forth a number of them. One of the concerns Mr. Aho points out is that there's no surface use agreement for the Phelan well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And do you know when the Phelan well was drilled?
October of 1978.
Okay. And when the Phelan well was drilled, was it covered by an oil and gas lease?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to direct your attention to the packet of exhibits and specifically Exhibit 2 in the packet. Can you tell me if that's the oil and gas lease that underlies the Phelan well?
Yes.
And what's the date of that oil and gas lease?
May 4th, 1949.
Okay. And were you just recently contacted by a field inspector from the Industrial Commission about the Feeland well and the authority of Zargon to operate that well?
Yes.
And do you recall who that field inspector was?
Scott, his last name is blanking. I'm
Was
sorry.
it Scott Deely?
Yes.
Okay. And did he ask you to submit some information to the commission as to Zargon's authority to operate that well on that property without a surface use agreement?
Yes.
Okay. And did you direct that question to me?
Yes.
And do you know if I prepared a letter and sent a letter to the commission explaining why Zargon had the authority to be on that site?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about another concern that Mr. Aho raised, and that has to do with a office located on some property, I believe, that Valerie Aho owns. Are you aware of that being one of the concerns the Ahos raised?
Yes.
Okay. I want to direct your attention now to Exhibit 3 in the packet. Can you tell me what that is?
That is a surface use agreement of site lease for the office.
Okay. And do you also store some equipment there?
Correct.
And it's your belief that this lease would cover your authority to operate that office there and have your equipment there, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't want to mislead the commission, but there are some allegations, are there not, by the Ahos that this lease is no longer in effect?
Yes, there are.
And that's something that's going to have to be resolved in the courts, is that correct?
Yes, that is.
In fact, have you been served, or has Zargon been served with a notice of eviction?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know that initially that was that served to the wrong address, but you just recently received it?
Correct.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for this witness. If I can move to the geologic witness, then I think we can go to questions if that's okay.
And that's Mr. Jewett.
Yes, sir.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Phil, state your full name for the record, please.
Philip Dean Jewett.
And Phil, by whom are you employed?
I'm employed by Zargon, North Dakota.
Okay. And in what capacity?
Geologist.
And in that capacity, have you testified before the commission previously?
I was here in April when I first was aware of the Ahos concerns.
Okay. Well, perhaps it might be useful just to explain a bit your educational background and work experience.
Well, I graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington in 1980. Then I went to work for Gulf Oil that following January. I worked for them until about 85 when Chevron took over. And then I worked for Chevron about another 5 years, and they sold off a bunch of their properties to Pennzoil, so I went to Pennzoil. And I worked with them for about 3 years, and then I left them and went to Scott Wood, the guy that owns Zargon now. He owned an oil company called Wood Energy, and went to work for him in the Texas Basin, Salt Basin. And then I've been with Scott just about every year since then. A couple of years I worked for a couple of more smaller oil companies, but I'm back with him, so I've been in the oil business about 44 years.
And you've familiarized yourself, have you not, with respect to the application that's on file with the commission having to do with the conversion of the Feeland well to an injector for the unit, have you not?
Yes, sir, I put it together.
Okay. And you've satisfied yourself as to the accuracy of the material that's in there?
Yes, sir.
We'd offer the further testimony of this witness, that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Okay, Phil, I want to talk, and you've also familiarized yourself, have you not, with the email that Kevin Aho has submitted to the commission?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that email. Matt has explained some of the things that are in it. I would like you to talk a little bit about the TA status of the Feeland 25-6 well. My understanding is that one of the concerns Mr. Aho points out is that the Phelan well has been on TA status for a number of years. Is that your understanding of his
That's
email
correct.
as well?
It's
Okay.
correct.
And is it fair to say that based on that email, Mr. Aho would prefer the well be plugged rather than converted to an injection well?
Yes.
Okay. And can you explain for us why Zargon wants to take this TA well and convert it to an injection well?
Yes, sir. If you'll look at the map that I supplied, the injection,
If I can just stop you for a second, I'm not going to have this marked. It's for illustrative purposes only, but there's an identical map in the packet of exhibits. So he'll be talking from this because the scale is a little bit better. So sorry to interrupt you,
no
Phil.
problem.
Okay.
Okay. Up in the top right, you'll see the legend. The light green circles represent injection wells. The rose-colored circles represent the circles in the AOR of the Phelan 25-6. The dark green shows the temporarily abandoned observation wells, and the little brown circles, they indicate the wells with daily test, all in water. And if you'll notice, back all of the light green wells, the injection wells are up kind of to the northwest of the property. We don't have any injections at all down to the southeast. And if you can look around and look at some of the tests that I've put on some of the wells, we've got 8s, 7s, a 10, some 9s, and 4s and 8s, or 7s, and then down to the southeast where our well is, we've got one that has 4, and down to the south, we've got 2513s is 2, down a little, the next well is 1.7, 2.7 up to the drain shoal 3. I just believe they're suffering from a lack of water, and I believe if we inject water in this well and start getting water to them and repressurize as much as we can to assist the water encroachment down dip, then I believe we can make more oil, thereby making more money, and it's been a very profitable field for everybody that's owned it that I can tell, and also us.
Okay, then to briefly summarize, if I could, Phil, in your opinion, there's additional hydrocarbons that can be recovered from this unit, but it's going to require an injection well in the vicinity of wells that are, relatively low production right now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that would be the Phelan well that's the subject of today's hearing.
The Phelan 25-6, that's correct.
And in your opinion, if this application is not granted and that well would be required to be plugged and abandoned, what would happen with that remaining oil that you believe could be recovered if it's allowed to be converted to an injection well?
Well, we couldn't get it and it'd be wasted.
Why couldn't you just drill another well?
Well, the economics are not quite there for another well. You're talking about drilling another injection well. I've already got one I could have right here.
Okay, so, and the cost to drill one will be considerably more than converting that well to an injector?
Absolutely.
Okay. So in your opinion, it would result in waste if you're not allowed to convert this well to an injector?
Correct.
Okay. Let's move to another subject that was raised by Mr. Aho, and that has to do with spills. And I think it's important to understand a little bit about, I'll call it the Canadian Zargon and the USA Zargon. Has there been a change in the ownership of the company?
Yes, sir, in
And-
April of 2020.
Can you just explain a little bit what happened in April of 2020?
Well, Zargon Canada, I think they'd went bankrupt, and Scott Wood entered the scene. He'd heard about them, and he looked at them, and he thought the field was worth buying, so he purchased it. And a few months later, I went to work for him on this project and some others he has in California.
So it was basically a stock purchase. Mr. Wood came in and purchased all of the stock from Zargon, Zargon Canada, is that correct?
That's what I understand. I'm not the business guy.
Okay. And then at that point in time, they changed the name from Zargon Canada to Zargon ND, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit, and perhaps you mentioned this, but then you went to work for Zargon shortly after Mr. Wood purchased the stock.
Right.
Okay. Since that time that you've been working for Zargon ND, have you been advised by anyone of any spills that have taken place?
Here in Haas? No, sir.
Okay. And when you took over the field, were you, looking at files, were you aware of any spills that had taken place when it was owned by somebody other than Mr. Wood?
Well, I'd seen I was brought to aware of, later on of some, once I went up and talked to the pumpers. And we actually had one in our coulee, Maccabee coulee, but we cleaned it up and there was no problem. So that's all I was interested
Okay.
in.
So Mr. Aho has not got in touch with you and said, hey, there have been some spills out there and you need to clean them up?
No, he has not.
Okay. Another concern Mr. Aho points out is the condition of the roads. Are you aware of that concern?
Yes, I am. The pumper told me that Mr. Aho was complaining because the roads were pretty rutted up. They got pretty wet and they were pretty rutted up. And so we hauled some gravel out there on it and tried to fix it as much as they could. The problem is when the pumper, this is every pumper everywhere I've ever been. When it gets rutty, they're gonna go to the right or to the left and get out of the ruts. And that kind of widens the road just a little bit. And I can understand that concern, and that's why we put gravel on it.
Okay. And have started the process of putting gravel on some of these roads that are rutted up?
The ones that Philip told me about, we did.
Okay. Do you know if Zargon received any comment at all from Mr. Aho about putting gravel on the road?
Well, when they were working on it, Philip told me he came and told him, or asked him why he was working on the road if he didn't have a surface use agreement.
Okay. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about some of the, I'll call it an environmental issue. Mr. Aho expressed some concern with respect to the Phelan well, that it was near a drainage ditch. Will Zargon construct the facility for the injection well in such a way to prevent water from moving off the location into the drainage ditch?
Yes, we will.
Okay. And there was also a mention in Mr. Aho's email about a number of other wells in the unit and not in the unit. Do you understand his concern about that?
Yes, I do, but Mr. Osho needs to understand that this is a very old oil field. It was first developed in the 50s and 60s by a Unocal, and various other companies have had it. This field, being this old, shows a little evidence of past oil production. This production was done many years ago, and right now, Zargon, North Dakota has no plans to do anything to these sites.
And some of the sites aren't even part of the unit, is that correct?
That's right.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Examiner. We'd offer each of the three exhibits that were identified, and Exhibit 1 is already in the record because that's basically the application, but we'll offer it again.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
I got a few questions. First off, Lawrence, are you okay if we incorporate the record from case 30671, which is the case from the TAO review?
Case of what?
The TAO review of this well that was held back on February 21st, 2024?
I don't know what's in it, but I guess I don't have any objection.
Okay. And then, Phil, you stated that Scott had purchased it and it went from Zargon Oil Canada to Zargon Oil North Dakota. What was the date on that?
That was April 1st, 2020, I believe.
Okay. Are you sure the operator wasn't already Zargon Oil ND Inc. prior to that?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just thought they changed it when he got it to make sure they knew it wasn't the Canadians.
Okay. I have paperwork back into 2005 that shows that the operator was Zargon Oil ND Inc. So there might be just a little bit of conflict there to where some of the landowners might not have known it changed over just because if the name stayed the same, but the personnel behind the scenes changed a little bit.
Right.
Does Zargon have an agreement as far as putting the pipeline across?
Well, we
Tahoe's
talked
land?
to a guy that does that out there, my pumper has, but we hadn't started anything.
Correct, but do you have an agreement to install the pipeline across Miss Aho's
No.
land? No.
Not that I know of.
Have those discussions been had by Mr. Sanders?
Maybe Matt can answer
Yes.
that.
Yes, I have reached out to Mr. Aho and Mrs. Aho.
Okay. Is there a reason why Zargon hasn't fully maintained this TAO well site as far as letting it kind of being overgrown and not spraying the weeds and stuff around it?
Well, it was just, we only go out there to, whenever we do the bottom hole surveys, and we just didn't, I was not aware that the road was in bad shape. Okay, the pumpers never said a word about it.
I believe it's addressed in the application, but in order to convert the well, you'll have to install a new road out to the site, correct?
From the, we got a picture, I don't know if y'all have one, I have one if you don't have it. From the fence going into the property, we've got a road out about 900 feet. We'll have to put a road in.
Why don't we give this to, do you have a number of copies?
I thought these guys had one,
It might be in the packet, Lawrence.
but you want to look at this anyway?
And it doesn't have an exhibit number on it, so
No, I
I
just
don't
got
think
it.
they have it. So you want, can I just, why
Yeah.
don't you keep that one?
Okay.
I think we ended up with 3, so this would be exhibit 4.
Is the current surface use agreement that Lawrence, I think it was exhibit 2 or 3, does that cover the right to build the road back up or install the new road as needed to access the site?
I think that might be a legal
No.
question. Yeah, let me try to expand a little bit upon that. I think that if we were to use the road as it exists now, I don't think an additional surface use agreement would be necessary. But I think if we improve the road, it's going to result in probably taking a little bit more property. And as a result of that, I believe that the Surface Owner Protection Act in North Dakota is probably applicable, and that would require a new surface damage agreement. So I'm basically agreeing with Matt's testimony with a little bit more explanation. I think your question was, do you believe the old surface agreement covers that, or the lease covers it? And I would agree with his response, if we use more property.
Will Zargon implement any automation for safety for this site, as far as avoiding any spills, any fiber installed with the pipeline?
Whatever we need to do to make it safe.
So your statement is, if we require it, you'll install it, but if we don't require it, you might not necessarily install like the fiber or anything?
I'll talk to the pumper, however they've done the other wells. I'm not a plumber on none of these, I'm just a geologist, but I'll talk to them and see what they've got on the other wells. We'll do whatever we need to.
How often does the pumpers for Zargon go around to check the wells for compliance?
They go around to every producing well, and they get around to this one like periodically. They just, since it's kind of out of the way, but they still keep an eye on it, drive by it maybe once a week, make sure there's no spills or nothing like that.
So if they notice, oil staining, if it's just drips or something off the wellhead, I think a couple of the pictures from Mr. Aho showed some oil staining next to the wellhead. Like obviously not to the amount of reportable spill, but
Well-
simple staining on the ground. If they see that, are they instructed to
I
scoop
talked to
that
the
up into a bucket or?
Let him finish his question.
I talked to the pumper about those very pictures, and I sent them to him, and he said he couldn't even really tell which wells they were, because whenever we work on a well, sometimes they pump salt water down into hot water and try to get the paraffin and stuff out of it, and sometimes it makes a mess, but they've got a steam cleaner that they go out and they clean them. They may not do it the nanosecond that they're through, but they do clean them up. So he said those wells don't look like that now. That's what he told me.
One of the other concerns addressed in the letter was there's sites that haven't been reclaimed. Do you know if when Mr. Wood purchased the entire unit, was that all current operating sites, TA, AB wells, plugged wells that still need to be reclaimed? Did he buy the entire unit as one to where that would fall under the new Zargon?
I believe he bought the company, or however you do that.
Has Zargon looked into these old sites that still need to be reclaimed?
The pumpers pointed out a couple down south. A road or two needed the gravel taken off, and that generally was about it. And a couple of tanks down to the south, not in this field, that were left that probably needs to be hauled off.
So who from Zargon will be the one taking lead and to get that work taken care of?
Whenever they want to do it, it'd be the pumpers calling, telling me if somebody wants them gone.
But if they haven't done the reclamation to date, what makes the commission confident that they would want to do it moving forward without us pushing them to do it?
Well, we can do it if we need to do it, but like I said, this was all done a long time ago. Nobody's done it in the past. It was there when we bought it. So I'll just tell you, taking up the gravel would be no problem at all on the roads. Actually, we could use the gravel on the roads on the other road, and that's what we've talked about. But we haven't made any plans to do anything other than what we're doing now.
If the well is approved, when does Zargon anticipate starting the work to convert the well?
Well, we don't want to do it as long as there's crops out right now. So it's probably going to be after the first of the year. If it dries up a little bit after it gets cold and maybe quits snowing, we don't want to do anything to upset any of his crops, any crops.
If it's approved and you start injecting, how long do you anticipate that you need to inject to see a response in the wells nearby?
You know what, I was thinking about that, and I don't really know. I don't think it'll be too awful long because it's not too far over to the west. Well, it is to its 4,000 feet. I'm sure it'll be at least a couple of months, just guessing, a couple of months before we see anything.
Is there a certain point that you would cease injection if no response is seen in the nearby wells?
No, because I'm not a total professional on these water floods, but I know the difference is if you got water there pushing it out, it's going to move. Whereby if you let it just sit there on its own, it's not going to move near as good as it does if you put water to it. And we got plenty of water.
And just to confirm, the water will only be delivered via pipeline?
Correct.
To the location, there will not be the option for anything to be trucked? Okay.
You'll have to answer verbally.
No.
All right, thank you.
Matt, this is David Tabor. Question in reference to your council's comment about NDIC inspector reaching out to you as far as the operatorship of the well. I just want to make sure I understand it right.
I think that was
I believe that's what you indicated, was that the operation of the well, and I just want to make clarification that commission inspector staff reached out for the right of access to the location. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to ensure that that is what was asked. Phil or Matt, and some of my questions, I'm not sure which is the more appropriate person to ask, so I'm going to kind of leave it to whoever feels like answering it. Is it my understanding, if I'm right here, does Zargon use contract pumpers, or do you have an actual pumper on staff?
We have one on staff and two contract.
Do you oversee the pumpers? Are you their main supervisor?
Correct.
When's the last time that you are aware that the pumper actually went on to this particular well?
I would have to call him. It hadn't been long ago, but I'd have to call him and ask him. I've asked him about that, make sure he goes by them. He said, yes, they do.
Okay. Why isn't there a maintained lease road onto this location?
You know, I've wondered that myself. And the well was a producing well when they first drilled it a long time ago. It had to have a road. And I think it's right, I think they've been going up that, at the top of that little drainage there, and my Philip, my pumper, he used to work for a workover company. He was on the rigs. He said that's what they've done ever since he was done it. He was working on that rig, and now that's the road they always use. So it's not like somebody come in and got the road. I don't know what happened to it. I think it just kind of is overgrown.
Has your pumper indicated to you that this road they're using, their trail access point, can be very challenging to access this location when it's wet out?
He's never complained about it.
Has a landowner ever expressed that concern
Not to
to
me.
your pumper or to you?
Not to me.
Is this the first time that Zargon's aware of landowner concerns?
That was the first, when I was here in April, I think it was, that was the first I'd heard of Mr. Ajo's concerns.
You indicated that you don't want to access this location currently because it would cause crop damages to the landowner. How would Zargon go or propose to access this location if they were required to do work, if you're gonna have to cross their crops?
Well, if we're gonna build a road, we're gonna have to pay him for it anyway, so we'll build it right up there to it.
Well, I'm referring to as the location sits now. I mean, how are you gonna access it without going across crops? Do they farm it across the trail or the
Yes,
current
yes,
access
they do.
point?
Yes, they do.
You indicated that the pumper has not expressed to you what Mr. Thune discussed as far as staining on location or the pictures, and you're not sure if that's from the location. Has Argonne implemented any changes recently, mainly from your side as far as communication, or to try to improve if there is, I guess I'll say for better word here, lack of communication from the pumpers to yourself directly?
Well, I think they have more communication with Matt than me. I don't have any communication with them.
Matt, have you implemented any changes, or do you feel that there was a need for any communicational changes since hearing of the concerns from the landowner?
I just mentioned to please call me and let me know.
Have you had any previous information from the landowner about some of the concerns that were noted today?
Previous from the email?
Okay, that's correct.
I don't believe so. If so, it'll be a day or two, but I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Just one follow-up question based on Mr. Chaver's question. So if there's crops surrounding location, how is your pumper going out and actually checking it if they can't drive out to it and
He
there's
can
crop all
walk.
over?
He can walk to it. He can go up to it and stop and walk. It's not but about 600 feet off of that drainage to the well.
And you're sure that he is actually getting out and physically walking out there?
He doesn't drive up there.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but you're sure he's not just driving by and taking a glance through the crop and saying we're good and then keep moving?
I'm not sure of that, but I'm sure of him, what kind of a guy he is.
And the pumpers, once again, if they see issues, do they report issues to you or do they report issues to Matt?
Me.
Okay.
Well, in other words, issues like a well issue, like if we had a spill, he would call me. If it was something with Mr. Ajo, it would probably be Matt.
Okay. Does anything ever get reported up the ladder to Scott?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
I got just one follow-up to what was just asked. You indicated that Zargon did review the pictures that were provided by the landowner, correct?
Correct.
And you indicated your pumper didn't believe that was that location, or they verified and said that well site wasn't
currently in a state that showed any staining?
It's not currently in that stage. He said, we've cleaned everything up. We always clean them up after it may not be the next day, like I said, but whenever they get the time, they get out there and clean them up.
Okay, so he didn't clarify that by a visual inspection, he just stated to you that it was cleaned?
No, he went out, he said he didn't know where that was. He couldn't find that exact well that they were talking about.
Okay, and I had asked you if you knew the last time that the pumper went on location, you weren't sure, so when did he indicate that he did that?
When I talked to him, it's probably about that, probably a month ago.
Okay, so you're,
But now, he goes by those wells every day. The wells that were in the pictures, he goes by them every day. We're
but
talking
if-
about two things here. Wells that are producing in this TAO well, and that's not the one he goes by every day, just every few days.
so your understanding is every few days the pumper would inspect this TAO well?
Yes.
Phil, on the map you handed out to us, I want to see if I understand. So you have a dashed line on there, and then right beside it says road 825 feet. What is that dash? Is that dashed line 825 feet long?
Now, let me make sure I understand what you're asking me. You're talking about the line where I've got the flow line, 1,325 feet, where we're gonna have to install?
No.
Okay, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
You have a dashed line on the map, correct?
On this map, yeah, I got two
No,
dash
no,
lines.
on this one.
Okay, yes, I do.
And that says road 825 feet.
From the fence to the Phelan 25-6, it's further than that, all the way out to the end, you can follow it.
So where's the fence?
Okay, the fence is down to the south, right there where you'll see the R in the road. You can see where the pastures have got a fence, they're separated, and that's the fence there.
So from the fence, so the red line is 825 feet?
No, sir, the red line is about 225. The other dotted line, dash line up to the red line, that's about 600 and something. So you've got about 800 and something feet that we'll have to build.
So getting back to an earlier question, and I'll get to the email here, but, so right now, there's no physical way, if it was raining out, to get a rig on this well?
Not without causing some trouble, because he's got some crops there.
Well, if it was muddy enough, you physically couldn't get a rig on there.
That's
Is that
right.
correct?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't try to.
So in his email, he talks about this lack of surface agreements and no formal lease roads created to each of the three operating wells, including the TAO 25-6. So is he talking about wells in section 25, do you think?
I guess so.
So do you know what he means by no formal lease roads?
I don't know what a formal road is, what it meant.
I mean, are there other wells out there that have trails to them?
No, they generally got roads.
So in order to get a rig on this location, when you convert it, you're gonna have to build up the road?
First, yes.
And as long as we're on that subject, maybe Lawrence, I'll ask you a question. So since this is in a unit, you have the right to access that well, but you still have to enter into a surface use agreement?
That's what I believe, Mr. Porter, that particularly if we use more property. If we're just using the existing road, which has been in existence long before the Surface Owner Protection Act in North Dakota came into being, I think we have the right to do that. But if we expand it in any way or improve it or cause more damage, then we are required to enter into a surface use agreement, which my understanding is that process has started, as we've been talking to them about that.
Phil or Matt, I don't care who answers this. When's the last time somebody from Zargan, other than the pumper, has been in this field?
I was there, I think it was around April. I was there up at about that time. I come periodically.
So with this new information that you've received from the AHOs, are you planning to go up there and look at some of these things?
Well, I've already been on the roads, you know, and I've looked at all the wells. I drove around and with the pumper and looked at all the wells. But to tell you the truth, I know there was a little bit of mud on the road when I was there, and I understand his concern, but I didn't see a lot of damage in that picture myself.
Would you like to see some more pictures?
No, sir.
So how long has the Phelan well been TA'd?
Probably 20 years.
So why is Argonne now wanting to convert it to an injection well?
Because we're the last owners, and I got to looking at when I had time to map this field. I've been very busy in California, but I come down and look at this, and I thought, man, we need some water down in here, and that's a perfect place to put it.
And lastly, with the new flow line, Lawrence, maybe this might be better directed to you. Since this is in a unit, you have the right to put that line in, but you'll have to enter into a surface damage agreement for that.
I think that if we install a pipeline into the area, we're going to have to enter into a surface use agreement because of the new Surface Owner Protection Act being in place now, but it wasn't in place when the well was drilled.
So lastly, Phil, you talked about converting this well maybe in January or later this year. How easy is it to build a road in January?
Well, no, I meant whenever the crops are gone and whenever it dries up. If it may be after, I said after January, maybe after January, probably will up here. So just as quick as we can get some kind of solid ground. I don't want to get out there and start making a big mess. This is some construction, but it's not really that time consuming. So we can get down there and have a couple of dry spells. I think we can do a lot better than getting up there in the mud.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to clarify one thing. Perhaps I misunderstood Mr. Tabor. The instruction I received from the Industrial Commission was to provide the Industrial Commission with some information as to why I believed Zargon had the authority to do what it had done on the Phelan well. I wasn't asked any questions about operations or anything like that. Like I said, perhaps I misunderstood you, but that's what I was asked to do, and that's what I did. And I don't know if you've seen a copy of my letter.
Yeah, I have, and I guess that's why I wanted to ask that question. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't maybe a misunderstanding that the commission's not asking whether or not they have the right to operate a well that there's a bonded operator for. The question was brought up for the fact that the landowner had reached out to the commission, I believe several weeks ago from my understanding, about issues, and one of them was the access and the trail, and so it was kind of a combo of this hearing coming up along with some other stuff. So it was more the access because of what the landowner had informed the commission of.
Yeah,
So-
and that's how I responded.
Yep.
I responded with respect
Yep.
to access.
And you had, the reason I asked that question is when you were referring to the questions or asking Matt the questions, you had stated operatorship, so I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about access only.
Okay, I perhaps misphrased.
But either way, I think we're saying the exact same thing.
Cross these guys. Okay. Okay. Would anyone else like to come up and make a comment or question the witnesses?
Certainly love to.
Okay. Just state your name and I'll swear you in.
Kevin Paul Aho.
Oh, hang on.
Kevin Paul Aho.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do. Phil, you've said that there's roads out there. There's access trails. There isn't a single built-up road up until a month ago when they took the initiative to dump gravel out in my pasture, covering up grass. There was no surface on any of them roads. Nothing has been maintained in 50 years. There hasn't been a blade up and down them roads a single time. I can tell you, you don't know the last time your pumpers were out on that well site. I can tell you the last time they're out there because the state has record of the last time they tested that well site. That is the only time a pumper has been within 1,000 feet of that well. That, to my knowledge, has not been one single track, one single vehicle track. The gate hasn't even been opened in over a year.
That's not what my pumper tells me.
Well, you better spend a little more time with your pumpers then.
So it's been this way 50 years?
You can't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm not 50 years old. I can't tell you how it's been. But the state of them trails, the state of them wells have been that way as long as I've been old enough to drive on a four-wheeler and go see what they look like. Hasn't much changed. Feeling 5 is on that access trail that was supposed to have been abandoned and reclamated. It's still bare clay and gravel. Ain't anything other than a weed growing on it the cow won't touch. So going forward, I don't know how I would expect anybody to clean anything up. The spills that are in the pictures, as of the middle of June, the staining on the ground was still there. So the cleanup and the implementation of whatever steps you said have been done, I question if anything's been done. I live out there. You don't. I see this stuff
Mr.
every
Chairman,
day.
I'm going to object to the extent that he's talking to my client. He's supposed to be offering testimony. If he wants to offer testimony, I have no objection.
I'm sorry. I'm
This isn't-
trying to refute the testimony that was given.
and that's fine,
Because I
but-
do not believe it's accurate.
I don't care for the fact, and I think it's inappropriate for him to be addressing and expecting answers from my client. That's not how the process works.
And that's fine. If you could just address the commission instead of sort of with your comments.
Does
If you've got-
anybody have
if you've got
questions
questions
for
for
me
Mr. Jewett, you can ask-
pertaining to anything?
I'm going to allow him to ask questions of Mr. Jewett.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, if you have questions directly to him, you can ask him. But if you're just going to make comments, like you said, I guess rather than do it in a conversational tone with Mr. Jewett, you can do it to the commission.
I'm sorry, I'm just unaware of how the process works.
Sure,
This
no, that's
is the first
understandable.
time I've been in front of anybody to honestly speak, so I don't know what procedure is. But I have trouble with what's going on out there. Trying to find a source of an agreement. They haven't come up with anything that's mutually beneficial for anybody. They keep sticking clauses into agreements that basically put a gag order on me, so I can't have opposition to what they're doing. And I don't know what we're gonna come out to. I'm looking for some different representation at the moment. So, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know where to go from here, I guess. If anybody has questions pertaining to the pictures or anything, I would love to elaborate if I can.
Yeah, well, any questions from the staff?
Mr. Aho, did you reach out to Zargon anytime before this objection has come?
I've known the pumpers for the majority of my life. I mean, they're approximately the same age as I am, so I grew up around them. And you meet them in casual here and there and discuss something, but as far as recorded, no.
When you were having conversations with them, did you express your concerns on different sites or things that need to be cleaned up?
My dad passed away a couple years ago. Up until then, I haven't been is focused on the cows and what was going on with them. Now that it's my shoes to take care of everything, I've been more observant to what specifically is going on instead of just casually seeing what's going on. And I have mentioned things to the guys that are out there, but they find it rather difficult to contact Mr. Wood to get anything approved or accomplished.
Thank you.
Anything further from the staff?
Kevin, I'll just briefly mention, the application here is for this injection well. Some of your concerns obviously don't deal with this injection well, but the commission will investigate those, just so you're not expecting something to be addressed with the stuff that's not related to the injection well in this order that's gonna come out. I wanna make you aware of that.
Initially, when it started, I was back in, I think, last October, I was concerned about the TAO status of the well. And I had initially inquired about that, and as soon as that was brought to light, suddenly then was the plan for the injection well was in motion. Whether it was, in my opinion, and only opinion, a retaliation to prevent them from having to do something to the well to get rid of it, I don't know. But that's the way I feel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Lawrence, I'll give you a chance to question the witness.
Okay, I just have a question or two. Mr. Aho, first of all, I want to apologize. I wasn't trying to offend you. I hope I did not offend you. I just didn't want an argument to ensue between you and Phil. So that was the reason for my objection. But I would like to ask a couple questions about this surface use agreement. Did I understand you correctly that my client, Zargon, has approached you with respect to a surface use agreement for the road and the well site of the Phelan well? Can you explain just a little bit where we are on that?
They have made initial steps. They've sent us a draft, in my opinion, a poorly written one. The first one was a joke, and Matt Sanders, he's the second landman that's been involved. So somebody asked him if he knew about anything prior to all this. He's only been, to my knowledge, only been involved with Zargon for a short time. But back to the surface use agreement, yes, there has been talks. Their terms and the rates that they want to discuss are pretty poor. It comes down to what the definition of a road is. In my opinion, according to that map, they're a tenth of what is required to build a road. Because, yeah, you can build a road to the fence, but then if it rains, you need four-wheel drive to get from that fence to the gravel road to the mile line to the east.
And what are your plans with respect to the surface use agreement draft that they've sent to you? Have you conveyed to them the problems that you have? I thought I heard you say something that you may retain a lawyer to have them contact. Can you just tell me what your plans are in that regard?
We're already in contact with council regarding the agreement. Currently, I'm looking for somebody that is a little bit more specifically involved with the oil field so that we can understand some of the verbiage that's being used. Because I'm just a poor farm kid that doesn't understand the lawyer jargon.
Is it a fair statement that if we can get to the point where the language in the surface use agreement is such that you feel it protects your mother because that's her property, do you believe your mother will sign the agreement?
If we can get to that point that it's beneficial for everybody, yes.
Okay. You're not in a position here today that your mother is just taking the position, no, absolutely not, don't want you on the property, don't have the right to be on the property.
There's no reason to be 100% against it. I gotta have oil to drive a vehicle to and from and do everything that I need to do to make a living, so I'm not against oil activity in any form, but I do have problems when I have to farm around it, and I do have problems when I have to interact with it, with animals and everything else. Usually they're pretty small. Most of the guys are really great to work with, but there has been issues. The site lease that's referred to, it's labeled Zargon ND. We have never received a paper notification for an address change. It was mentioned that everything was sent to the wrong address. It was sent to the address on the lease.
Yeah, but that's another matter. I mean, that's not for the commission to determine whether.
No,
the
but
lease
it
is-
was mentioned here today.
I understand. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, if there's nothing further, that concludes our hearing for case number 30992. This time, we might as well take a 1-hour break for lunch. What's that? We've got 3 left. Well, 2 left. You want to plow through them? Oh, okay. Well, you give me, never mind. You know, we're not going to break for lunch. I apologize. We're going to go back on the record.
You've been overruled. Thanks, Phil. Talk to you later.
Listen, I'm all in favor of plowing through it, but people give me the stink eye when I keep going. Yours is one of them sometimes.
Well, I already handed those exhibits out, right?
Well, this is one of the exhibits that concern me. Okay.
Did you say on the record we were taking an hour break? I hope my clients hear that.
Are we back on the record? We never left the record. So we will not be taking one. We're going to try and finish off the remainder of the hearings. So I'll begin by calling case number 31053, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Kittleson Slough Bakken Pool to establish a 1920-acre spacing unit described as sections 3 and 10, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, Monterey County, North Dakota, and section 34, Township 158 North, Range 91 West, Monterey County, North Dakota, and to authorize 8 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit and grant as other reliefs may be appropriate. This case has been continued to the August hearings. Concludes the hearing for case number 31053. Case number 30997, application of Fomentere Operations LLC pursuant to section 430203-88.1 of NDAC for an order of the commission authorizing the drilling of the LAR-1 saltwater disposal of saltwater from a surface hole location in the southeast-southwest quarter, section 23, Township 162 North, Range 94 West, to a bottom hole location in the northwest-southwest quarter, section 23, Township 162 North, Range 94 West, Larson, Fieldburg County, North Dakota, in the Dakota Group pursuant to NDAC Chapter 430205, and providing such other and further relief. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Lawrence Bender, P.O. Box 1855, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this matter on behalf of Fomentere Operations LLC. And we'll have one witness who's testified previously today, Shane Farin.
Just remind you, he's still under oath.
Okay. Shane, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Shane, I'm going to direct, I've handed out a packet of exhibits. I assume you have a packet in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's a relatively thick packet, which we've designated as Exhibit 1, and it consists of, I think, 100 and, maybe you can help me, 128 pages, is that correct? Nope, yeah, 128 pages. Are you there, Shane?
Yes, sir.
Okay, does
That is correct.
Okay, and that's the application that the commission has on file for this matter, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Now, in addition to that, it's my understanding that a Mr. Shannon, I hope I can pronounce his name correctly, Bureau, has filed a letter with the commission basically objecting to the application. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
And have you had an opportunity to review that letter?
I have.
Okay. Now, in terms of addressing some of the problems Mr. Bureau had, let's turn to page 11 of Exhibit 1. And can you tell us what's contained on page 11?
Yes, so page 11 depicts the surface location of the proposed LAR1 SWD well in the southwest-southeast of Section 23, Township 162 North, Range 94 West, Burke County. The exhibit shows that Formentera is proposing to drill the LAR1 SWD well as a horizontal well to the northwest with a bottom hole in the northeast-northwest of Section 23. The exhibit also shows a radius around the wellbore of a quarter mile, and this quarter mile radius includes the A.B. Iverson 16294-2314H-1 that you can see is directly east of the proposed LAR1 pad.
Okay, and it's my understanding that one of the concerns the landowner has is that the saltwater disposal well being proposed is going to impact his properties. And can you describe for us, first of all, where his properties are located? And you may have to go to another page in Exhibit 1 to do that.
Yes, that would be on page 14 of Exhibit 1. You'll see that Mr. Bureau is identified as an owner of the property described as the south half, northwest quarter of Section 23, Township 162 North, Range 94 West.
Okay. And one of Mr. Bureau's concerns is that the saltwater disposal well might negatively impact the Bureau 4-22H well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you direct the examiner and the commission staff to where that Bureau 4-22H well is located?
Yes, so Exhibit 2, it shows, you will see the Bureau 422H is located in the northwest of Section 22.
Okay. And when was that well drilled?
That well was spud on April 23rd, 2005. It was originally completed on July 7th, 2005 in the Bakken pool. The lateral was isolated, and the well was recompleted in the Madison pool on November 17th, 2005.
Okay. And do you know what that well, what the average daily production of that well was, let's just say in May of 2024, just recently?
Yes, in May of 2024, the average daily production was 8.6 barrels of oil per day, 20.5 barrel water per day, and 21.9 MCF gas a day.
So not a barn burner.
No, sir.
Okay. And who's the operator of that well?
Continental Resources.
To your knowledge, does Continental Resources have any objection to the saltwater disposal application that's before the commission today?
No.
Okay. And how far is this well that's operated by Continental, the Bureau 4-22H well? How far is it from the proposed saltwater disposal well?
So the producing interval of that wellbore is 5,700 feet from the proposed LAR1 SWD.
Okay. Now I'm going to have you turn to page 93 through 99 of Exhibit 1. Can you briefly describe how the LAR1 saltwater disposal well will be drilled and completed so as to avoid the leaking of saltwater into oil-producing zones?
Yes. The LAR1 SWD will be drilled to a depth of 1,650 feet with fresh water. Surface casing will be set at 1,650 feet and cemented back to surface. Surface casing shoe will be drilled out and the well will be drilled to a TD of 6099 feet MD, 4757 feet TVD. The injection casing will be ran to 6099 feet MD and will be cemented with a topsoil cement above the Maui Formation.
Okay. Another concern I understand that the landowner made was the concern for this saltwater disposal well in relationship to other plugged and abandoned wells in the area. Do you know the location of those plugged and abandoned wells that he is concerned about?
Yes, sir. Those are also shown on Exhibit 2. There were 2 wells that we located, the Bureau Breno Nordvet 1-28 well, which is located in the northeast quarter of Section 28, and the Wallace Bureau 1 well, which is located in the southwest-northwest of Section 22.
And when were those wells drilled and completed, if you know?
The Wallace Bureau 1 was spud on August 14th, 1963, and the Bureau Breno Nordvet 1-28 was spud on December 28th, 1967. The wells were not completed, and only surface casing is set on those wells.
So in essence, if they weren't completed, they were basically completed as dry holes. They were never completed as producers. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In preparing the application for the saltwater disposal well, did you or someone with Formentera take a look at the well files of the Industrial Commission to determine how these wells were plugged?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any concern that the plugging of these nearby wells was done properly, or that leaks could occur as a result of the injection from the saltwater disposal well?
No, the wells were plugged and abandoned in accordance with the NDIC requirements.
Okay. I believe another issue that came up was truck traffic. Mr. Bureau had some concern that truck traffic in the area would increase as a result of the saltwater disposal well. Can you tell us in reality what will likely happen if this saltwater disposal well is allowed to be drilled and completed?
Yes, so if the LRR1 SWD1 is not drilled, the produced water from the planned pad source wells will be trucked to other SWD wells. If the LRR1 SWD is drilled, the produced water will be pipelined to the SWD, which will reduce truck traffic.
Okay, and I think another objection Mr. Bureau made was his concern with respect to 2 fresh water wells near his home that he indicates provide a source of drinking water for him and his family. Are you familiar with those, the wells he's referring to?
Yes, sir.
And where are those wells located?
Those wells, one well is the southwest-northwest of Section 27, Township 162 North, Range 94 West, and the other well is located southeast-northeast of Section 28, Township 162 North, Range 94 West.
And what, if you know, what's the status of those wells in terms of being active? Are they being used, or are they inactive?
The wells are currently inactive.
And how far are those wells from the proposed disposal well?
They're approximately 1.32 miles and 1.44 miles.
Okay. And even though the wells are quite a distance away and aren't actively being used, will Formentera protect those wells from contamination?
The drilling and completion requirements being used are those that are approved by EPA and NDIC to protect underground sources of drinking water. So yes.
Okay. You don't believe the the way you complete these wells will result in any damage to those inactive freshwater wells.
No, sir.
Mr. Examiner, I believe that's all the questions I have, even though Exhibit 1 is duplicate of what's already in the record. We would offer Exhibits 1 and 2.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Shane, you mentioned that the water, or that this SCBD would be tied into other wells and the water would be piped in, but in reality, there's 5 oil and gas wells planned for this exact same site, correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you planning on batch drilling those 5 wells with this SCBD at the same time?
That would be ideal. That would be our ideal development there.
Does Formentera have other wells in the area that you plan on trucking water into this site, or will it initially be used just for those 5 wells on the pad?
Initially, they were just used for the wells on the pad or any potential new drills in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Shane, on your page 11, so there's currently a well site just to the east of your proposed pad?
Yes, sir.
Is that a Phoenix well site? Excuse me,
No, that is a Formentera.
Formentera. So your depiction on Exhibit 11, are you building a completely new pad or are you expanding the existing one?
We are building a new pad.
So why aren't you expanding the existing one?
Just due to the amount of, there's a large uncertainty with the actual amount of well to be drilled on this pad. So in order to account for all that uncertainty, to account for the uncertainty, just spacing wise, just starting from a new pad made the most sense.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our hearing for case number 30997. We will now jump to a case remanded from the administrative docket. Case number 31072, application of Phoenix Operating LLC for an order of the commission pursuant to NDAC 430203-88.1, authorizing the underground injection of fluids into the Dakota Formation using the Axel Ferrari 1 saltwater disposal well proposed to be drilled in the southwest quarter of Section 24, Township 160 North, Range 99 West, Bergfield, Divide County, North Dakota, pursuant to Chapter 430205 of the NDAC, and providing such other relief as is appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward. I will note for the record that no parties appeared, that there was a letter filed in objection to this application that will be a part of the record. That concludes our hearing for case number 31072, and that concludes our hearings for the day.